Welcome to Buddhism Seeds, a place where we return together to the silence that has always been within. You may have been taught that sleep is simple. Just close your eyes, turn off the light, and hope for rest. But if that were really true, why do some mornings leave you more exhausted than when you went to bed? Why do some nights find you turning over endless thoughts as if your mind can't find the switch to stop? And why is it that in the very moment you most need peace, your mind is the loudest? The truth is, sleep is not only about the body. It is a journey of the mind, a gentle yet profound lesson in letting go. Each night is an invitation to return to yourself, to stillness, and to the doorway that opens into a world beyond me and mine. For thousands of years, Buddhist practitioners have cultivated this art. They learned to lay down their worries, their unfinished thoughts, their unsatisfied desires. They called sleep a small nirvana, where the self dissolves, desire settles, and the mind becomes clear, like a still lake. Imagine this. What if each night you didn't just lie down to escape the world, but to return to an unbound mind? What if every dream were a teacher, and every moment of stillness a path leading you back to true peace? Tonight, as you listen, let your breath slow down. Let your thoughts stop fighting for attention. Let the noise in your head dissolve into space. And let silence, the silence already in your heart, speak. When you awaken, you may not have gained anything new, but you will have lost so much less anxiety, less striving, less tension to become someone. Because happiness doesn't come from controlling life. It comes when you learn to sit quietly in the midst of change. That is the power of mindfulness, and that is what we will practice tonight. This is not a video that teaches you how to sleep. This is over 3 hours of returning a quiet meeting between you and the deepest part of yourself. Are you ready to close your eyes, not to escape, but to return? Let us begin. Perhaps you've woken in the night, heart-pounding, sweat on your forehead, shaken by a dream without a clear shape. Or perhaps you've smiled in your sleep, soaring over familiar fields, touching memories, meeting faces you thought were long gone. Those fleeting images, like smoke, leave behind feelings so vivid, so close. Why is that? In Buddhism, dreams are not random products of the brain. A dream is the mirror of karma, where seeds of the mind hidden deep in the alaya consciousness rise to the surface and take form as images, sounds, emotions. Each dream is a slice of the stream of consciousness quietly flowing beneath awareness. Like a calm lake, one thought, like a pebble, can send ripples across the surface. When you fall asleep, your senses rest. But the mind does not. It never sleeps. It continues living its own life, thinking, remembering, desiring, fearing. And in that state, dreams arise as a wondrous space where the mind expresses itself freely, without pretense, without censorship. The mind reveals exactly what it holds. Emotions you suppressed during the day, anger, sadness, guilt, desire will find their way into dreams. So, dreams are karma, but in its gentlest form. They do not punish you. They whisper, "What are you thinking? What are you avoiding? What fear are you hiding?" They reflect the shadows you haven't yet illuminated with mindfulness. Sometimes, simply observing a dream can reveal an old wound you never named. The Buddha once said, in the Samyutta Nikaya, mind precedes all phenomena. Mind is their chief. Mind creates them. This truth applies not only when you're awake, but also in sleep. The world in dreams is a world created by your mind. No one else paints that dream but you. If you dream of being chased, it's your mind running from something. If you fall, it may be your fear of losing control. If you dream of lotus flowers light or clear water, it may signal your mind is purifying and healing itself. You don't need to be a dream analyst to understand your dreams. You just need to listen to your mind even while it dreams. Sometimes the dreaming mind speaks more honestly than the waking one. And perhaps from a single dream last night, you might glimpse the silent pain within you, calling to be healed. Those who haven't seen their minds clearly think dreams are unreal. But in Zen, a dream is another layer of awareness, neither real nor unreal, just a spontaneous expression of mind and karma. A Zen master once said, "A dream is not illusion, but truth in another form." When the body sleeps, the mind leaves it like a traveler stepping away from a physical home into an inner garden. They're free from logic. The mind is most naked and visible. If a practitioner observes dreams with mindfulness, the dream becomes a teacher. Some dreams frighten you to remind you of your greed, anger, ignorance. Others move you deeply to remind you that compassion still lives in you. Every dream is a subtle teaching about yourself. In Vajrayana Buddhism, this is called dream yoga, the ancient practice of remaining aware within dreams. When you awaken inside a dream and no longer identify with its emotions, that is the beginning of enlightenment. For life itself is a larger dream, and awakening within the dream is awakening within life. Psychology calls dreams the language of the unconscious. Buddhism calls them active karma. Different names, same essence. Both say, what you refuse to face by day will return to you by night. Sigmund Freud called dreams the royal road to the unconscious. Buddhism goes further. Don't just analyze dreams, transform the mind. What matters is not what you dream, but how you wake. If you dream of fear, don't suppress it. Look at it with compassion. If you dream of desire, don't judge. Just see it as a passing wave of mind. Dreams are opportunities to practice understanding and love even in the unconscious. Modern psychology calls it integrating the shadow. Buddhism calls it illuminating ignorance with mindfulness. When you can embrace the dark within, nightmares lose their power. A dream is only a mirror, not an enemy. In one retreat, a student asked the Zen master, "I often have nightmares every night. How can I stop being afraid?" The master smiled. "Don't chase them away. Welcome them as guests." The answer surprised many. Our instinct is to erase bad dreams immediately. But to a practitioner, nightmares are not enemies. They are mirrors reflecting what we haven't faced. If you wake in the night, heart racing, sweat on your brow, don't rush back to sleep. Sit quietly. Take a long, slow breath. Ask gently, "What is this dream trying to tell me?" Maybe it's an old fear unhealed, maybe a wound unforgiven, or simply your mind whispering, "It's time to let this go." The Buddha once taught, "Like a blacksmith, with every strike of the hammer, one forges oneself." Dreams are such hammers. Each time you respond with awareness instead of fear, you are reforging your mind. Each time you observe without judgment, an old layer of karma dissolves gently without force. So don't try to control your dreams. Don't wish only for good ones. Just learn to see your mind through each image, whether light or dark. When you do, dreams stop being escapes. They become deep meditations where the mind sees itself, and you can begin tonight. When you lie down, breathe as in meditation, smile to your mind and whisper, "Whatever I dream, I will only listen." Because when you can listen even in dreams, every dream, gentle or fierce, becomes a path back to awakening. The way you live by day is the way your mind dreams by night. If you live in anger, your dreams will be filled with tension, pursuit, unease. If you live with gratitude and kindness, your dreams will be gentle flowing, like water, blooming like flowers in sleep. If you want clear dreams, live with clarity. If you want peaceful sleep, live with awareness. Before bed, don't scroll through your phone. Don't flood the mind with noise and haste. Everything you consume before sleep becomes the raw material of dreams. Instead, sit quietly for a few minutes. Relax your body. Breathe softly. Cultivate loving kindness. Send blessings to yourself and everyone you thought of today. You can practice a simple meditation. Inhale, I release today. Exhale, I open to tonight. Simple words, but a deep practice. When you truly release the events of the day, pain, regret, disappointment, their seeds no longer fall into your dreams. Dreams are the continuation of consciousness, and consciousness carries the imprint of karma. But karma, as the Buddha taught, can be transformed through mindfulness and understanding. That is why those who practice, even if their bodies are weary, often sleep peacefully. They don't carry suffering into their dreams. They let the mind rest fully like a leaf falling without regret. When you realize, this is just a dream, in that moment, the mind awakens. In Zen, that insight is called a single moment of awakening. Awakening doesn't mean opening your eyes, but seeing clearly the nature of what appears. Life is the same. Whenever you are angry, anxious, jealous, and can stop and say, "This is just a feeling arising in my mind," you are awake in the dream of life. So training the mind in dreams is training for life. When you see dreams as dreams, you also see life as interdependent flow. In that seeing suffering lessens, peace grows, wisdom shines. Once a student asked the master, "How can I know where my mind is when I can neither see nor touch it?" The master smiled. "Look into your dreams, because dreams never lie. If in your dreams you often fear, flee, or panic, your waking mind is still anxious. If your dreams are full of conflict and struggle, your mind is still clinging. But if your dreams are light, calm, and clear, it's not because life is perfect, but because your mind has begun to flow with nature. The important thing is, Dreams don't teach you anything new. They simply reflect what you are living too busy to notice. We chase work goals, people, and forget that each night that inner mirror quietly reflects the truth of our lives. So don't see sleep as a pause. Let it become the space where the mind is heard. When you start to listen to your dreams without analyzing, without control, you begin to understand what truly moves you. And from there, you can transform the mind instead of being pulled by it. When you face fear in dreams, you fear less in life. When you forgive someone in dreams, your heart softens when awake. If heard rightly, dreams become a profound path of meditation where you meet yourself without any mirror. Dreams are mirrors, but a mirror reflects only in light. That light is mindfulness. If you live mindfully, dreams become gentle Dharma talks each night. If you live in forgetfulness, dreams become the flickering shadows of karma. Let each sleep be a small meditation hall. Don't try to interpret dreams. Don't try to control them. Just breathe and observe, like watching the moon reflected on still water. When you understand that dreams are reflections of the mind, you'll know to change your dreams, change how you live, to rest peacefully at night, live peacefully by day. And in that peace, your mind will learn to sleep before the body does, as if returning to a silent home that has always been waiting. Have you ever lain in bed for a long time and still couldn't fall asleep? Your body may have rested on the pillow, but your mind hasn't. It's still wandering to the words left unanswered, the tasks unfinished, the fears unnamed, or simply, it just refuses to stop. This happens often, and it runs deep, because real sleep doesn't begin with the eyes. It begins when the mind agrees to rest. Many people go to bed while the mind is still roaming, still reacting, still reasoning, still longing. In those moments, even if the body lies still, the mind hasn't returned home. And when the mind hasn't returned home, the body cannot be at peace. In Buddhist teachings, body and mind move in parallel, but they are not the same. The body is bound by gravity and space. The mind has no boundaries. It doesn't need feet to travel, nor doors to pass through, nor time to move. With a single thought, it can rush into the past, leap into the future, or magnify one small sentence into a storm of emotion. So when you lie down, but the mind is still filled with waves, sleep cannot arrive naturally. It comes late, it comes half-heartedly. And when you wake, even after enough hours of sleep, you still feel heavy and tired, as if you never rested at all. Deep sleep does not come from a relaxed body alone. It comes when the mind has truly stopped. In the Dhammapada, there is a famous line, "The mind precedes all things." The mind is their master. The mind creates them. Many people think this applies only to waking life, but in truth, it is especially true at night, when body and mind meet in their deepest exchange. The body lies down eyes closed, yet if the mind hasn't settled, the body remains subtly resistant. If your mind is still chasing an old story, your back won't relax. If your mind hasn't released anger, your shoulders will feel heavy as stone. If your mind still clings to something unfinished, your chest will tighten. Your breath will grow shallow. Outwardly, you may appear asleep, but inwardly, you are still holding on. So the mind must fall asleep before the body does. In other words, you must let the mind return and calm down first, not by forcing it to sleep, not by pushing it away, but by mindfulness, by being present, seeing clearly, and not resisting. Mindfulness is the art of stopping without strain. You don't quiet the mind by commanding it to be still. You simply breathe with it. You just notice the mind is thinking. Then you breathe again. And you don't demand that the mind get better. When you stop pressuring the mind to be this or that, it will dissolve on its own like smoke after rain. Perhaps the most beautiful image is this: the body is the child. The mind is the mother. If the mother keeps talking, worrying, or staying awake, the child can never fall asleep. Only when the mother sits quietly, breathes softly, and sings lullabies through gentle silence, the child finally closes its eyes completely. Your mind, when guided toward stillness, embraced without resistance, will gradually withdraw energy from its worries. It doesn't need a reason to rest. It only needs permission to rest without being hurried, without being labeled not good enough. And only when the mind is truly calm can the body finally let go. Then sleep arrives like a friend, uninvited, unforced, simply near. No meditation music required. No advanced technique. Just a mind that knows how to stop. And that is the most essential meditation lesson before sleep. It's not your body, but your mind that must rest first. The mind isn't trained to stop. It's trained to think, analyze, and control. All day you command the mind, think, plan, remember, decide. But at night, you demand it to stop without teaching it how. Nothing is more exhausting than asking the mind to stop when you don't know how to let it go. Buddhism calls an untrained mind a restless mind. It isn't evil nor wrong, it's simply untamed. Like a horse not yet bridled, it runs across open fields until it collapses from exhaustion. That's why meditation before sleep isn't a ritual. It's an act of compassion toward your own mind. It's a way of guiding the mind home, like a gentle mother embracing her child and whispering, "It's enough now. We've done enough for today. You just need to lie down and be present." Be present with the breath gently flowing in and out. Be present with the feeling of your body resting on the bed supported, needing nothing to do. Be present in the permission to rest without condition. Try a simple practice tonight before sleep. Close your eyes slowly without hurry. Inhale softly, naturally, without control. Exhale and feel your body touching the pillow, the blanket, the earth. Then whisper inwardly, "I allow my mind to rest. I don't need to think anymore. I don't need to finish anything tonight." If a thought arises, don't push it away. Just acknowledge gently, "I'm thinking." Then return to the breath, the body, the release. This is relaxation meditation, not effort, not control, but offering your mind a space to stop, to withdraw from unfinished stories. You are training the mind to return home before the body fully rests. And when the mind is at peace, sleep no longer needs to be sought. It comes naturally, like a dear friend welcomed with gentle presence. Many people lie in bed yet continue an inner dialogue. still analyzing, still defending themselves, still blaming others or themselves. Even those silent conversations exhaust the mind. Because the mind doesn't know the dialogue has ended, it still believes it's fighting, still trying to prove something. Remember the Buddha's words, "The wise do not seek victory, they seek peace." Sleep comes when you no longer need to be right, when you no longer need to win an argument in your imagination, when you no longer need to figure it all out. Just recognize enough. Now it's time for the mind to rest. Many think practice belongs to daytime, and sleep is merely a biological function. But in Buddhism, sleep is also part of practice. It's not only for the body to rest, but for the mind to release, for the unconscious to be purified, and for new seeds to be planted in the alaya consciousness, the deepest layer of karma within each being. When you go to sleep with a restless mind full of tension, worry, anger, or regret, you are sowing seeds of unrest into your dreams. These seeds don't vanish overnight. They sprout and influence how you feel and react the next day. But when you go to bed with a mind softened by mindfulness, with gratitude, gentle breath, and effortless letting go, you are planting wholesome seeds that quietly nurture a more peaceful life. Each night is a lesson in letting go. You don't need to do much, just lie down and truly stop. Every sleep is a small death where you release every role, title, and expectation. You are no longer the one who must complete, explain, or achieve. You are simply a stream of consciousness allowed to rest. And if you guide your mind home like this each night, then one day when this body must finally rest for the last time, you will know how to let go gently, awake, unafraid, because you have practiced letting go in every sleep. You have practiced dying a little with kindness and acceptance. And so sleeping too is practice, soft yet profound. Every night is a Dharma lesson. If sitting meditation feels difficult, try meditating while lying down gently, naturally, without pressure. Don't force yourself to stay awake, and don't fear falling asleep. Meditate with softness. I'm practicing rest, and if meditation leads you into sleep, that's not failure. It's a deep sleep begun with presence. A simple and effective bedtime meditation. Lie on your right side. This is called the lion's posture, the position the Buddha used entering nirvana. Rest one hand gently on your abdomen. Inhale, feel your belly rise. Exhale, feel it fall. Then whisper silently one line at a time. The mind is resting. The body is resting. No one needs anything from me now. You don't need to try to be still. You just need to be present in this very moment with breath, body, and mind. If a thought arises, don't react. Just recognize I'm thinking. Then softly return to the body, to the breath, to the pillow beneath your head. This is not just meditation. It's a gift to yourself after a long day. Not to do more, but to finally stop doing. Just lie down and be present. That is enough. When you understand that the mind must rest before the body, you will no longer be frustrated by sleeplessness, because you'll see it's not the body that can't sleep, it's the mind that hasn't returned. You'll learn to lead the mind home first, like lighting a lamp before entering the house. And in that light, you'll realize the space for rest has never been missing. You had only forgotten to return. When the mind settles, the breath softens. When the breath softens, the body releases. When the body releases, sleep arrives not by effort, not by waiting, but like a lotus blooming after the sun has set. And when you truly understand that the mind must sleep before the body, you'll see clearly sleep is not the end of a day, but the beginning of a journey inward, where breath becomes the guide. Have you ever noticed something so simple yet so profoundly stilling? No matter whether you are happy, sad, angry, or worried, the breath continues quietly on. Whether you are standing, sitting, working, or resting, your body keeps moving silently, sensing the world through each current of air, each subtle motion. The breath and the body, things so familiar, are actually two gateways of awakening that every practitioner must return to, especially in that delicate moment between wakefulness and sleep, when the body begins to loosen, but the mind still trembles with its final ripples. In Buddhism, breathing is not only physiology, it is a means of mindfulness, the golden thread connecting body and mind, because only the breath can touch both at once. The body feeling the air moving in and out, the rise and fall of the belly, the rhythm of the chest. The mind knowing that you are breathing, seeing the intention to inhale clearly, sensing the change within each cycle. Each time you focus on the breath, you are no longer lost in thought. Each time you return to the body, you are no longer carried away by memories or projections. That is why in the Anapanasati Sutta mindfulness of breathing, the Buddha taught 16 detailed steps of practice, and the first always begins with, I know when I breathe in. I know when I breathe out. Not to control the breath, but to recognize that you are present. When you prepare to sleep, what do you truly need? Not a soft lamp, not a comfortable pillow, not a warm blanket. What you truly need for deep sleep is a place where the mind can rest. And that place nowhere else is your own breathing body. The body does not speak, but it remembers. It keeps the tension not yet released, the emotions not yet digested, the subtle wounds you tried to ignore during the day. And if you are not fully present with it, then when you lie down, the body will keep talking to you. It speaks through heaviness in the shoulders, through the ache in your back, through a nameless discomfort that keeps you from resting. The only way to calm the body is to be present with it in mindfulness. No advanced technique is required. No need to sit cross-legged for hours. Just one simple thing. When you lie down to sleep, instead of continuing the stream of thoughts, return to the very first breath. Just that breath. No control, no counting, no effort. Simply know this is an in-breath, this is an out-breath. A sentence so gentle, so simple, yet if you truly live with it, it can open an entire path of practice where body and mind meet, where the mind stops wandering and the body finally rests. Modern psychology says that breathing is the direct bridge to the autonomic nervous system, the system that regulates stress or relaxation throughout the body. When you breathe slowly, deeply, and fully, the parasympathetic system is activated, slowing the heart rate, relaxing the muscles, guiding you into deep rest. But when you breathe shallowly, erratically, or too fast, the body interprets it as a signal of anxiety or fear, and immediately tenses again. Buddhism does not explain it in biological terms, it goes further. The breath is the most delicate expression of impermanence. You cannot hold on to even one breath, nor can you be certain that the next one will come. So, when you place awareness on your breath, you are learning to live fully in the present moment, and also learning to let go of all attempts to control. That is what brings peace to the mind. No more control, no more effort to fall asleep quickly. Only this: I am breathing. I am fully here. Many people enter meditation expecting to experience something mystical, a special state, a strange sensation. But in truth, the first gate of meditation is the breath itself. Not lofty, not distant. Simply the body is breathing, and you know it. In the Zen tradition, there is a story often told. One day, a master asked his disciple, "Where do you seek the way?" The disciple thought for a long time and spoke of consciousness, enlightenment, true suchness, and the Dharma realm. The master smiled, pointed to the disciple's chest, and said, "Look at your breath. The way is not far. Why? Because only when you stop chasing ideas do you see what is already here. And what is here is this breath, this body, this mind aware of them. When you return to this reality, you are no longer pulled by the past or disturbed by the future. You are simply alive in the breath. If you often find it hard to sleep, if the body lies down, but the mind keeps spinning, practice this simple yet profound meditation right on your bed. Stage 1, returning to the body. Lie down and release the whole body. No special posture needed, just a sense of letting go. Notice 3 clear points of contact. Your back touching the bed, your head resting on the pillow, your hands touching your chest or belly. Simply observe these points. Do nothing more. Stage 2. Returning to the breath. Gently bring awareness to the rhythm of breathing. When inhaling, feel the cool air entering the nostrils. When exhaling, feel the belly fall and soften. Do not adjust the breath. Be like someone standing by a stream watching water flow, not blocking, not analyzing, just watching. Stage 3. Returning to the mind. If while breathing thoughts arise, simply notice, "I am thinking." Don't blame yourself. Don't push the thought away. Just come back to the breath, to the body, like a traveler who wandered off and now finds the way home. Perfection isn't needed. Only return again and again. Though short if practiced each night, this meditation becomes a bridge between mind and body, between day and night, between anxiety and rest. From it, not only will you sleep better, you will also learn the art of presence in the smallest moment, when you lie down with one single breath. And from there, peace begins. Have you noticed when you're sad, sleep comes late? When you're anxious, you often wake at 2 or 3 a.m. When you're relaxed, sleep is as light as a cloud. That's because sleep doesn't depend only on the body. It depends deeply on the mind. If you cultivate the habit of returning to the breath and body before sleep, you won't just sleep well, you will be practicing letting go each night. A small death where you no longer carry roles, thoughts, duties, or desires. Only a breathing body, a present mind, and a night softening into awareness. The Satipatthana Sutta teaches, contemplate the body in the body to overcome craving and sorrow in the world. You cannot calm the mind by forcing it, but you can calm the mind by contemplating the body, bringing the mind back to sensation and breath. When you feel each part of the body from head to toe, you are helping the mind settle in one place, no longer wandering unconsciously. And in that presence, the mind naturally softens like a leaf, without wind falling by itself. Thus, the breath and the body are not secondary objects in meditation. They are the first door and also the last leading you home. Now you see the breath is not only biology, but the study of meditation itself. The body is not just a dwelling, but a temple of awareness. When you bring mindfulness back to the breath, you are not merely breathing, you are transforming the habit of the wandering mind. When you bring mindfulness back to the body, you are not merely resting, you are practicing self-compassion through full presence. So before you sleep, don't try to sleep. Return to the breathing body, gently, quietly, present. That is enough. Yet sometimes, even while breathing, a quiet question arises. I still don't fully understand what's happening inside my mind. There are nights when you lie awake unable to quiet the mind, not because of noise, not because of light, but because of a question without an answer. Sometimes it's, why did they do that to me? Sometimes, what does it all mean? And sometimes, simply, did I make the right choice? Those questions, though small, are chains that bind the mind. They pull you away from the present, away from sleep, away from the stillness you need. Perhaps never before has humankind understood so much, and yet never before have we been so exhausted by understanding. We think that if we understand everything, we will find peace. But in truth, it is the need to understand that keeps the mind from ever resting. Notice how your mind behaves during the day. It keeps analyzing. Why did this happen? What did that person mean? Is this my karma? Understanding can be light. But when it is driven by fear, by the need to control it, becomes a burden. It's like someone walking a familiar road, but constantly looking back at every step to make sure they're still on the right path. In the end, that person never truly arrives anywhere. The mind is the same. It keeps checking to stay safe, to find meaning, to be certain. But the more it tries to grasp, the further it drifts from its natural calm. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha taught, there is no fire like desire, no chain that binds like ignorance. Ignorance here does not mean not knowing. It means not accepting not knowing, being unable to let something remain unanswered and still be at peace. We often think that only when we fully understand can we let go. But the truth is, the opposite. Only when you let go can you truly understand. Relaxation is not an act of reasoning. It does not come from analysis or from trying to understand. It is a state of trust, of faith in the natural flow of consciousness. When you allow yourself not to know everything, not to explain everything right away, you create space for the mind to rest. And in that space, true understanding arises on its own. It's like sitting beside a clear lake. If you keep stirring the water to see the bottom, the surface will stay cloudy. The more you stir, the less you see. But if you stop, the water settles and the bottom appears by itself. The mind is just like that. Understanding is a natural process. It happens when the mind is quiet enough. But the desire to understand right now is a form of tension, and tension is the root of restlessness. Letting go of the need to understand doesn't mean giving up. It means giving space for deeper wisdom to move within you. So let go first and understanding will come. Not through effort, but through stillness. Why do we fear not understanding? Because we fear losing control. The mind craves certainty. It believes that if we understand everything, we won't get hurt. But life does not work that way. The Buddha made this clear. In the Four Noble Truths, suffering arises from craving, and in this case, it is the craving for knowledge, the attachment to clarity, the insistence that things must make sense. When we cannot accept uncertainty, we cannot live in the present. We keep running backward into the past to find causes or forward into the future to seek results. And in that running, we lose the only moment the mind can truly rest, this one. Buddhism does not teach us not to understand. It teaches us to stop when understanding is not yet needed. Because there are truths that can only reveal themselves when the mind is still. Many people think meditation is a way to understand more deeply, to analyze feelings, to find causes, to reach the root of what's happening. But in genuine practice, meditation is not analysis. It is the art of stopping right before the mind runs after something. When you sit quietly and an emotion arises, sadness, anger, fear, anxiety, the mind wants to ask, why am I angry? Was it because of what happened earlier? Or because that person said something hurtful? But a true practitioner does not follow that path. They simply note, this is anger, this is sadness. No search for causes, no attempt to explain, no wish to change it into something else. Because the moment you try to understand, you are still within the grip of control, the ego wanting to interfere with my state. And the more the ego intrudes, the less the mind can rest. Only when you can see an emotion exactly as it is, without interference, without commentary, without coloring, does the mind finally have a chance to be still. And from that stillness, true understanding arises. Not understanding so you can stop, but stopping so you can understand. That is where meditation and wisdom meet, wordless, yet radiant. Psychology calls this overthinking. When the brain keeps working, the body cannot relax. And when the body cannot relax, the mind cannot rest. Therapists often suggest before sleep, accept that you don't need to understand everything that happened today. That is not neglect, it is allowing the mind space to recalibrate itself. When you stop trying to decode everything, the part of the brain that processes emotion, the amygdala slows down while the prefrontal cortex linked to awareness and calm activates. This aligns perfectly with what the Buddha taught over 2,500 years ago. When the mind does not cling, suffering cannot remain. Before sleep, try a simple meditation. I call it the art of not understanding. No preparation needed. Just lie still, breathe softly, and be present. If a thought suddenly appears about work, about someone, about something unresolved, don't chase it away. Don't analyze it. Don't resist it. Simply whisper inwardly, I don't need to understand this right now. I allow my mind to rest. With each exhale, imagine setting down a burden. With each inhale, receive gentleness, permission to be imperfect. Don't try to stop thinking. The more you try, the tighter the mind becomes. You don't need to control the current. You only need not to be swept away. Just see, know, and allow, like listening to the sound of rain. You don't analyze each drop. You don't ask where it comes from or how long it will last. You just listen, and the rain becomes music on its own. The mind is the same. If you stop interfering, it returns to its natural rhythm, to stillness, to enoughness, to the peace that doesn't need understanding to rest. In Zen, there is a profound saying, not knowing is most intimate. Not knowing here is not ignorance, it is the humility of wisdom. When you no longer insist on understanding, your mind opens, expands, and embraces even what is unclear, imperfect, or unresolved. The Buddha never taught us to explain everything in the universe. He taught us to see the nature of the mind that wants to understand, to recognize that this wanting to know is the root of all restlessness. And when you can smile at your own not knowing, that is when the mind truly abides in mindfulness. In work, in love, in relationships, you cannot fully understand everyone, and you don't need to. What you need is the ability to be present, to listen, and to let go at the right time. When you learn to release the need to understand, you are also learning the art of trust. Trust in cause and effect. Trust that everything arrives by conditions, and that every experience is a lesson for spiritual growth. In the Majjhima Nikaya, the Buddha said, "The wise stop where they do not know," to stop not from laziness, but from knowing that truth does not come from forcing, but from a still mind that sees clearly. When you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" you begin to ask, "How can I stay awake within this?" That question doesn't seek an answer. It is the light of true understanding. Each night before sleep, you can practice like this. Close your eyes and take 3 deep, gentle breaths. Tell your mind, I don't need to understand everything right now. I allow what's unfinished to be still. Feel your body lighten. Notice that even your breath doesn't need your control. It still comes and goes. That is living proof that life continues perfectly without your interference. And when your mind truly understands this, you no longer fear not understanding. You simply feel peace, like someone standing by a river, quietly watching the water flow, without needing to know where it goes. When you release the need to understand, your mind rests. Not because you know everything, but because you know when to stop. Sometimes not understanding is the highest form of understanding, because it allows the mind to be empty. And in that emptiness, wisdom arises naturally. When you let go of every question, when you allow yourself not to need answers, you enter a very deep state of meditation, the mind resting in the present moment, without judgment, without seeking, simply being. And from that stillness, you move into another stage of the spiritual path, purifying the karma of the day, so that the night is no longer a place of accumulation, but becomes a moment of gentle liberation. Before going to sleep, we often have the habit of washing our face, brushing our teeth, and changing into pajamas to make the body clean and comfortable. But how many of us remember that the mind also needs to be cleansed, perhaps even more importantly than the body? You can lie on a soft bed in a quiet room, but if your mind is still covered with the dust of a hurried day, then your sleep will only be a partial rest. Body, speech, and mind. The three forms of karma you create each day are what you carry into sleep, whether you realize it or not. What you have done, said, and thought does not disappear when the day ends. They quietly accumulate beneath the surface of consciousness, shaping the quality of your rest. If you have lived in haste, in unwholesome deeds, or in competition, you cannot expect the night to bring peace. If you have lived with mindfulness, compassion, and deep listening, then when night comes, your mind will be as light as a passing breeze. In Buddhist teachings, karma is not something mystical or fearful. Karma simply means the habits of body, speech, and mind that are repeated over and over. Every action, every word, every thought plants a seed in consciousness. And when night falls, as the external activities pause, those seeds begin to rise to the surface. If during the day your body has been overstrained, your speech too hurried, your thoughts too scattered, then at night the mind cannot settle. It is like a lake that has been stirred all day. It cannot become clear the moment the sun sets. So before you sleep, wash the hands of your mind. Not to make yourself perfect, but to simply recognize the stains that have quietly appeared without your notice. There are 3 layers of karma you carry. Karma of the body. The actions you have done from gentle to harsh. Were your movements rushed or mindful? Did you help someone or ignore their pain? Every gesture leaves a mark. Karma of speech. The words you have spoken to others and to yourself. Did you praise or criticize, listen or interrupt? Words are energy. Even if you forget them, the mind remembers. Karma of thought. The thoughts you have nurtured about yourself, about others, about the world. How many moments of resentment, comparison, or judgment arose today? How many times did you forget mindfulness? If these 3 kinds of karma are not recognized and renewed, they become invisible weights pressing down upon your sleep. You may not dream of anything specific, yet wake up heavy tired, as if someone had been sitting on your chest all night. Many people think I've been so bad today. I don't deserve to rest. But sleep does not ask you to be perfect. It only asks you to be honest, to be fully present. In Zen, the first step is not to reach a special state, but to return to where you truly are. You don't need to torment yourself for what you did wrong. Just see clearly. Today I hurried. I forgot to breathe. I spoke too quickly. See it. Acknowledge it. Breathe in, breathe out, and put it down. That simple, non-judgmental awareness is the beginning of purification. No one can do this for you, but you can do it for yourself every night before you sleep. Before bed, set aside a few quiet minutes for a small ritual. No bells, no chants. Just you in the stillness of your own space. You may sit gently at the edge of the bed or lie on your side in the lion's posture, the same posture the Buddha used when entering nirvana. Close your eyes, breathe softly, and ask your heart 3 simple questions. What have I done today that made someone happier? What have I said today that might have hurt someone? What have I thought today that made my own heart heavy? You don't need to analyze. You don't need detailed answers. Just recognize and breathe with it. Breathing in, I see the karma I have created. Breathing out, I release the need to control it. Not to blame, not to escape, but to see and to set it down for now, because there are things you cannot fix today. Words that cannot yet be unsaid. Actions that cannot yet be corrected. But you do not have to carry them into your sleep as if the night were a courtroom. Let the night be a place of rest, not punishment. And when you release the burdens of the mind becomes light, and sleep becomes healing. The Dhammapada teaches, pure in mind, pure in speech, pure in body, this is the path of the noble ones. But you don't need to be a saint to begin. You only need to be someone who sees when karma is being made. If you acted without compassion today, tonight, simply vow, tomorrow I will be more present. If you spoke words that hurt tonight, whisper a quiet apology in your heart. If you nurtured negative thoughts tonight, see them as a crying child. Don't push them away. Don't cling to them. Just recognize them. And so each night you wash away a little dust. Eventually your mind becomes transparent, not because it was never dirty, but because you have learned to cleanse it every day. Psychologists call this emotional residue, the leftover emotions from each interaction, decision, or event of the day. If you don't clear them, they accumulate, affecting your sleep, your dreams, and your morning energy. Many therapists recommend writing a letting go journal before bed. Write down what happened and what you can set down tonight. Buddhism doesn't use pen and paper, it uses mindfulness as the lamp. When the mind truly sees, it releases naturally. When the mind is not forced, it clears on its own. If you live hurriedly, you will sleep late. If you live deeply, you will sleep peacefully. If you live in conflict, even your dreams will keep fighting. But if you live with compassion, the night will become a gentle refuge, like returning to a mother's embrace. because sleep does not truly begin when you close your eyes. It begins with how you live throughout the day, with the words you choose, the people you truly listen to, and the actions you do quietly, simply because your heart knows they are right. There is no secret to better sleep greater than living lightly, moment by moment. For a hurried mind cannot be peaceful when night falls. A tense mind cannot easily learn to let go. So, if you want a peaceful night, begin in the daylight. Live as if every action is a cushion preparing your bed for tonight. Speak as if every word will echo in your dreams. And plant compassion in each thought, as if you were sowing light for a deep, gentle sleep, because sleep does not begin at night. It begins with the state of consciousness you have been cultivating all day. Before you sleep tonight, ask yourself, what can I set down so my mind can rest? You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to earn it. You only need to be present and soften. Wash the hands of your mind as one who returns home after a long day. Bring no dust to bed. Bring no anger into dreams. Bring no blame as a pillow for your head, for in that release, sleep ceases to be a mere biological function and becomes a gentle doorway to liberation. Through this purification, you will see the night is no longer a place to hide, but a sanctuary where the mind truly rests. There are nights when you lie down not to rest, but to continue a silent battle with yourself. You turn to one side, eyes closed, but the mind stays open. Unfinished conversations, unforgiven mistakes, words that should have been softer, expectations you couldn't meet all return at once, crowding a mind that's trying to sleep. I once heard someone say, "I can't sleep because I don't feel worthy of rest." That sentence sounds so painful and so wrong, because sleep doesn't ask you to be perfect. It only asks you to be present. Not present to justify, to judge, or to try one last time to prove yourself, but present like someone learning to let go. In psychology, this is called bedtime rumination, the repetitive negative thinking that often appears right when you begin to rest. All day long you are busy doing, interacting, responding. Only when you lie down do you begin to hear yourself again. And if the person inside you has not yet healed, then sleep will never be peaceful. Self-blame is a deep psychological pattern closely tied to subtle ego pride. It wears two faces, one the person who always feels not good enough, and the other, the one who always wants to do everything right. Both are tired, both do not know how to rest, and both forget one essential truth of the Buddha's teaching. Seeing impermanence clearly and knowing enough, that is wisdom. No one lives without mistakes. And if you can gently recognize your own errors without repeating them, without defending them, then you are already walking the path of transformation. Self-blame never makes you better. Mindfulness does, because it allows honesty and healing from within. The Buddha never encouraged us to drown in regret. He taught that recognizing one's fault is the beginning of wisdom. But if you use your fault to punish yourself, you are simply feeding another form of attachment, identifying with the image of the guilty one, and denying yourself the right to recover. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha said, The wise, when they make a mistake, acknowledge it, correct it, and avoid repeating it. They are like someone who falls into the mud yet knows how to stand up, wash, and walk again. You don't have to wait until you're better to rest. You don't have to be perfect to deserve sleep. You only need in this very moment to allow yourself to stop. Not to escape, but to look deeply. Not to deny your mistakes, but to stop letting old perceptions bind you through the night. When you lay your body down on the bed, it is not just a physical act. It can become a spiritual ritual, a deep meditative practice, like a practitioner sitting before the Buddha's altar at day's end, not to condemn themselves, but to recognize and transform. You can do the same. When you lie down after a long day, whisper quietly in your heart, "Today I was not perfect, but I have seen it, and I will learn to let go. Now I allow my body and mind to rest." Letting go does not mean neglect. It means ending the cycle of judgment so you no longer hurt yourself. Letting go opens the way for healing to begin. You cannot carry your anger, regret, and unfulfilled desires into sleep and expect your mind to be at peace. Let each heavy thought, each word of self-blame, each unfinished story flow away with every exhale. Exhaling is release. Inhaling is presence. With just these two, your sleep can already become whole. Nothing more is needed, only you softening and letting go. Before falling asleep, you can practice a very gentle yet profound meditation, a small ritual for the body to relax and for the mind to return home. Lie on your right side in the lion's posture, the position the Buddha chose when entering nirvana. Close your eyes, no rush. Place one hand on your abdomen, feeling the natural rise and fall of the breath. Silently repeat with each breath, "I don't need to be perfect. I only need to be present. I lie down as one learning to let go." You don't need to push away wandering thoughts. You don't need to force the mind to be still. Just stay with whatever is here with kindness and acceptance. There may still be worry. There may still be fatigue. But you no longer try to fix the mind before sleep. You simply hold it as it is and breathe with it. That is the art of resting as a practitioner. Not to improve yourself, but to allow everything to fall gently through breath, through stillness, through the tenderness you offer to yourself. Many studies show those who go to bed with guilt are more likely to suffer insomnia, nightmares, and frequent awakenings. Why? Because the brain, instead of entering rest mode, stays active in the self-judging regions. You keep trying to solve what's already past, while the body pleads for rest. This inner conflict creates hidden tension, leaving you weary when you wake. Therapists call this sleep without permission to rest. So how do you allow the mind to rest? It is when you know you are not perfect, but no longer demand perfection before letting go. When you lie down, not to escape, but with honesty. A tired body, an imperfect mind, and yet you still enter the night with compassion and acceptance. In the practice of the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha taught, contemplate the body in the body, feelings in feelings, mind in mind, and phenomena in phenomena, with mindfulness and clear awareness. To contemplate here does not mean to analyze right or wrong, nor to dissect every mental state. It means to look deeply, without coloring, without resistance, without adding. And when you truly see, the mind releases on its own, without force. If you feel your body is tired, stop, breathe, and release. If your mind feels tangled, stop, breathe, and release. If you feel not good enough, don't rush to fix it. Just breathe. Look directly at it and allow it to exist without opposition. Being present with what is, that is the first step of awakening. You don't need to understand everything. You don't need to be calm right away. You only need to stop and see, because presence is the foundation of transformation. When the mind is clear enough, you realize that you don't need to try to rest. Rest happens naturally, like still water after it stops being stirred. That is the art of meditation in daily life. Not overanalyzing, but observing through breath, through awareness, through acceptance. Only then can the mind truly rest. Tonight, you don't need to be the most right, the best, or the wisest. You only need to be someone learning to let go sincerely. And if you can do that, even for a few moments before sleep, you have already opened a profound path of healing. A healing that doesn't come from intellect or perfection, but from acceptance and compassion toward yourself. No one is perfect. No one needs to be. You only need to be present with a heart that knows how to release in this very breath. You may have found yourself in this state before you lie down early. The conditions are perfect. You try to adjust your posture, try to relax, try to fall asleep. But the more you try, the more awake your mind becomes. The more you want to sleep, the further sleep drifts away. You turn from side to side, check the clock, sigh deeply. Yet everything only adds to your frustration. And so the night passes not in peace, but under the invisible pressure of a mind straining to rest. Why does this happen? Because the nature of sleep, like meditation, does not come from effort. It happens when the mind stops resisting and stops seeking. It arrives when the mind falls naturally like a leaf that does not fight the wind. Buddhism does not only teach us to let go of anger, attachment, or the past. It also teaches us to let go of craving, even the craving for peace, for enlightenment, or for a deep night's sleep. Why? Because craving is an act of the ego. When you crave, you affirm a sense of lack. When you want to have you separate yourself from what is. And in that separation, suffering begins. In Zen, there is a simple yet profound saying, "The mind that seeks the way does not see the way." Not because the way is absent, but because when you are chasing it, you've placed it somewhere outside the present moment. And the moment your mind leaves the present, it can no longer see clearly. Sleep works the same way. It is an expression of deep surrender, not of effort. You cannot command the body to sleep. You can only create the conditions and then let the mind fall like a leaf, so that the body returns to its own natural wisdom of rest. Many people misunderstand effortlessness. They think it means laziness, giving up, or neglecting responsibility. But in Buddhism, effortlessness doesn't mean doing nothing. It means acting without pressure, without forcing, without grasping. In the middle-length discourses, the Buddha said, "When desire arises in the mind, know that desire arises. When desire ceases, know that desire ceases. Just know and allow everything to move according to its own nature. When you breathe, you don't try to breathe better. When you chew, you don't try to swallow faster. So why, when you go to bed, do you try to sleep?" Effortlessness is the art of letting life flow. Like water, it clears itself only when you stop stirring it. One of the greatest illusions of meditation is this thought: I must reach stillness. I must sit perfectly. I must have a special experience. But the more you crave such experiences, the further you move from mindfulness. The more you try to achieve stillness, the more you get lost in restlessness. Because meditation is not about achieving something. It is about stopping the urge to achieve. It is the practice of letting go of the habit of improving and learning instead to be present, even with what is uncomfortable. No fixing, no pushing, no labeling. Sleep is the same. If you treat sleep as a goal, as something you must accomplish, tonight you unknowingly place pressure on both mind and body, and that very pressure keeps you awake. But if you see sleep as a natural result of a relaxed body, of a released mind, of a quiet willingness to let go, then sleep comes as a byproduct, not as a task. That is the art of non-craving in meditation and in life. When you stop trying to sleep, you begin to rest. When you stop trying to meditate well, you begin to truly meditate, not achieving but being present, not holding but absorbing, not forcing but resting in peace. When you lie down at the end of the day, don't force yourself to sleep. Begin with a small, gentle practice light as a breath deep as a falling leaf. 1. Inhale, knowing you are breathing in. Exhale, feeling your body soften. That's all. No effort needed. You are returning not by doing, but by being. 2. Whisper silently to yourself, I don't need to sleep. I just need to rest. I don't need to achieve anything. I just need to be present. These simple phrases open the door to the right attitude in meditation, where the mind no longer chases expectations. 3. With each exhale, imagine a leaf falling. No strong wind, no direction. Just letting go because it's time. You are the same. Your mind doesn't need to be told to quiet down. Just stop holding on and it will settle naturally. You don't need to chase away thoughts. You don't need to suppress emotions. Just lie still as one who is learning to rest. No control, no forcing. When you truly let go, sleep arrives like an uninvited guest who knocks gently yet perfectly on time. Because that is the nature of an unforced mind. It returns on its own. It loosens on its own. It becomes still on its own. Modern psychology calls this state flow. The natural current of the mind when there is no resistance. When you walk in the forest without a clock, when you paint, cook, or water. The garden not for success, but for love. That is when your mind truly rests. The same applies to meditation and to sleep. Every act of striving drains you. Every act of allowing restores you. Sleep is not a task. It's not an item on your checklist. It is the result of releasing the need to control. In the Noble Eightfold Path, right concentration is the 8th step, and it can only arise when right thought, right effort, and right mindfulness have matured. Its essence is not about achieving a special state, but about surrendering completely without craving. The Buddha taught, "The wise do not chase what has not come, nor regret what has passed. They dwell fully in the present reality." If seen clearly, sleep is also a form of concentration, a moment in which you stop talking, stop judging, stop distinguishing so long as you don't bring the self into it. Effortlessness is not just for meditation or bedtime. It is a way of living a subtle art that can be carried into every ordinary moment. At work, you can practice it too. Do your best, but don't demand results beyond your capacity. Don't chase achievements or imprison yourself in must be better. In conversation, listen deeply without inserting your opinions. Don't rush to fix others. Don't react hastily. Just be present with empathy. In caring for loved ones, give without needing gratitude or return. Because you know true giving flows from compassion, not from contracts. The one who lives with effortlessness is not careless or passive. They live deeply, but without attachment. They act without pressure. They rest without guilt. And in doing so, they live lighter, freer, like a stream flowing through stones, neither struggling nor forcing, yet still steady, still moving forward. Sleep does not require you to have finished everything today. It does not check how right or wrong you have been. It simply comes to the one who knows how to stop at the right time, and that stopping does not come from the intellect. It comes from a heart that can accept the present moment without asking for anything more. When you lie down tonight, don't demand anything from the night. Don't demand yourself to be better, wiser, or faster at sleeping. Just set it all down like a falling leaf. No regret, no calculation, no control. Only then will you begin to enter a deeper layer of rest, where the body returns to its natural intelligence, needing neither your control nor your understanding. There are moments when you simply lie still doing nothing, and suddenly your breath becomes lighter. No one is guiding you. No technique is being applied. It's just that you stop controlling. And in that moment, the body knows what to do. That feeling is like dropping something into water. You don't have to teach the water how to hold it. The water just knows how to support. And your body is the same. It carries within it a silent intelligence, one that doesn't need words, reasoning, or instruction. We are used to controlling everything, both body and mind. But when you stop, when you do nothing, you begin to notice the body has always known the way home. The breath softens, the muscles loosen, the mind no longer needs to command, and healing quietly begins there. Science calls this the wisdom of the autonomic nervous system, the network that regulates heartbeat, breathing, digestion, and hormones, all without your involvement. You don't need to order the heart to beat. You don't need to tell the liver to work. You don't decide how each breath happens, and yet it does. This shows that the body has the capacity to self-regulate, self-heal, and restore balance if you stop interfering. Buddhism views this from a deeper angle. When the mind lets go, the body returns to its natural rhythm. When the mind interferes too much, the body becomes disturbed by the mind. In meditation, many people bring questions that sound wise. Am I breathing correctly? Should I make my breath longer? What if I'm holding my breath without realizing it? These questions may seem mindful, but they are often signs of excessive control. The mind begins to worry, afraid of doing it wrong, of not being perfect, of failing to practice properly. The mind doubts the body's natural intelligence, and that very anxiety becomes the root of tension. Now, breathing is no longer natural. It becomes work. You are no longer breathing. You are managing the breath. And once breathing becomes a task, sleep no longer comes easily. The mind is still supervising. The body is still tense. Neither is resting. The truth is, your body knew how to breathe long before you learned meditation. You don't need to teach it how. You just need to step aside and let it do its job. That is true mindfulness, not control, but presence and trust. When the mind stops acting as the manager, the breath returns to its natural rhythm. And that rhythm is the doorway to peaceful, effortless sleep. In the Anapanasati Sutta, mindfulness of breathing, the Buddha never taught us to control the breath. He did not say, make your breath longer. Keep it even and deep. He simply said, breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. That's all. Pure awareness. No interference. No fixing. No improving. Just presence, like a quiet friend observing without judgment. And in that simple presence, the body begins to adjust itself. The breath slows down. It becomes deeper, lighter. Not because you are better, not because you've achieved something, but because you've learned one essential thing: to trust the body's natural intelligence. We have been trained to control both mind and body. Yet when left undisturbed, the body knows how to heal itself. Like still water, it clears itself once you stop stirring it. And that is the essence of meditation and of restful sleep. Nothing extra, just presence, clear and trusting. One of the subtlest signs of ego is the thought, I must be in control of everything. It sounds confident, responsible, even strong. But beneath it lies insecurity. The more insecure one feels, the more one needs control. The more afraid of losing control, the more one forces the mind and body to follow the plan. They control every step, every word, every breath. Even when lying down to rest, they command the body to relax correctly, to rest efficiently, to sleep properly. But such control, even if useful at work, disrupts the body's natural rhythm. The body no longer breathes as it should. It becomes pulled by psychological demands and ideals. And one day, the body begins to resist fatigue without cause, insomnia despite rest, discomfort without injury, not because the body is weak, but because the mind refuses to let go. We often forget letting go is not surrender. Letting go is returning to the body its right to move in its own wisdom. It is to stop directing and start listening, to trust that the body is not a machine, but a living flow that restores itself when you stop trying to be its master and begin to be its friend. Before sleep, you can try a very simple meditation. Just 5 minutes enough to bring mind and body back to their natural state of rest. Sit or lie down. Close your eyes. No need to focus intensely. No need to meditate deeply. Just whisper softly within, I am not controlling anything. I am just sitting here, letting my body do its work. Then observe your breath, as if sitting beside a quiet stream, calm and at ease. You don't need to scoop the water. You don't need to make it clear. Just watch and let everything flow as it is. You will begin to notice something miraculous. When there is no controller, the breath becomes deeper, softer, gentler. Not because of effort, but because the mind has stopped driving and has become a silent witness. This stillness is not created by force, it arises from stopping. And from that still point, the body breathes in its own way, uncommanded, unforced. In that moment, sleep is no longer a task to complete, but a natural gift for the one who knows how to stop. One of the most profound teachings of the Buddha is this: the Dharma always moves according to its nature, it needs no interference. You don't remind the sun to rise tomorrow. You don't control the trees to sprout, the rain to fall, the heart to beat, or the lungs to breathe. Everything happens naturally, precisely, and wisely. So the path of practice is not to make things right, but to stop and see that things have always been right. This is a quiet but powerful transformation. From the mind that controls to the mind that trusts. From the mind that worries to the mind that is present. From the mind that forces the body to the mind that simply stays with it. We don't need to fix the world to be at peace. We only need to fix less and see more deeply how the world already works. And in that moment, when you release the need to control, the mind settles, the body breathes, and sleep becomes part of the practice, not just a physical break. Modern research on polyvagal theory shows this clearly. When a person feels safe, the nervous system automatically shifts into the rest and digest mode, which means you don't need to force relaxation. You only need to stop creating a sense of threat, and the body will do the rest. Psychotherapy calls this recovery doesn't come from doing, but from not being pushed. Only when the mind stops pushing the body can the body truly begin to heal. Look back on your day. How many moments did you truly listen to your body? And how many times did you force it to follow what you thought was right? Did you ever make it work when it was exhausted? Did you smile while your face was already tight with strain? Did you realize your breath was shallow and didn't even notice? The body doesn't speak, but it remembers. It records every time it was ignored. Every time you held your breath clenched, your muscles forced yourself to endure, as if your body were a machine unworthy of care. But if one day you pause, touch your body with awareness, breathe with it like a true friend, it will respond not with words, but with quiet, profound recovery. No complex techniques, no difficult practices, just faith in the body's natural wisdom and a sincere willingness to listen. From then on, the body is no longer just where you live. It becomes your companion, faithful, resilient, always ready to heal as long as you stop and truly be present with it. When you understand that the body has its own intelligence, you no longer see it as a tool or an object to control. You begin to see the body like the mind deserves trust, and that trust is the deepest healing of all. The breath doesn't have to be perfect. The posture doesn't have to be ideal. The mind doesn't have to be right. You only need to be present as a friend with your own body. And in that presence, something wondrous happens. Sleep arrives as a natural expression of the body, not because you tried, but because you finally let go of control. When you begin to live like this, you will see there is no real boundary between day and night, between being awake to work and sleeping to rest, because your mind has learned to live in one continuous flow, fully present in both light and dark. There is something strange that many people overlook. During the day, we are aware, thoughtful, careful with our words and actions. But at night, when we enter sleep, the mind seems to step into another world, chaotic, full of dreams, sometimes even more exhausting than the day itself. Why is there such a separation? Why can't day and night flow as one continuous stream? I believe that when you truly live mindfully, sleep is no longer a pause in life. It becomes a continuation, quieter, deeper, yet still a form of awareness if you know how to enter it. We often think that mindfulness belongs only to the daytime when we are working, thinking, observing, and intentionally guiding the mind. But at night, when sleep comes, we treat it as an interval, a temporary suspension of practice, awareness, and effort, a time when the mind is left to drift into dreams or unconsciousness. When we live like that, we divide ourselves. One part is conscious, the part we consider diligent and wise. Another part, abandoned, is seen as temporary, unimportant, uncontrolled. Thus, we create two worlds, a spiritual daytime where we practice mindfulness and a nighttime of instinct where everything is left to chance. But if you understand the essence of the Buddha's teaching, you will see there is no moment that is not part of the path. No moment, not even sleep, is without the seed of awareness. We don't need to force ourselves to stay alert for 24 hours. But we can plant a seed of clarity before sleep, a small light, so that gradually sleep itself becomes part of the practice. In Buddhist meditation, meditation is not only about sitting. It is the art of presence, being present when you walk, taking each step slowly, being present when you eat tasting and sensing fully. Being present when you speak not only with words, but with deep listening. And if you are sensitive enough, you can also be present as you fall into sleep. Imagine this. If you rush all day with a restless mind and hurried breath, you cannot expect peace to come at night with just a few mindful breaths. The mind does not work like a switch. It doesn't separate day from night. It carries all the energy of your day into your sleep. On the other hand, if you live mindfully from morning to evening, each action gentle, each emotion illuminated by awareness, then when night arrives, you don't need to try to be calm. You simply set everything down, and the mind on its own finds peace. Because meditation ultimately is not about achieving something, but about returning to yourself in every moment, whether in daylight or in the descent into sleep. In the Dharma, one of the deepest goals is not attainment, but wholeness. And wholeness does not mean perfection. It doesn't mean you are free from mistakes. It means you are no longer divided within, no longer fighting between light and dark, good and bad, no longer splitting yourself into a day of practice and a night of neglect. Wholeness means living in unity, where your mind, whether joyful or sad, still or restless, breathes in the same rhythm of awareness. No conflict. No, this is right, that is wrong. Only clear knowing and compassion for every part of yourself. Sleep, if you enter it with a clear mind, is not the end of a journey, but the gentle continuation of the path. When you awaken in the morning, you don't need to feel like you're starting over, because in truth, you never left the path. Your mind has been walking it quietly all night. Sleep does not interrupt meditation. When entered correctly, sleep becomes one of its deepest forms. Wholeness means day and night are no longer divided, only one living flow, clear, present, and full of love. You don't need elaborate rituals to unite day and night. 5 minutes before bed is enough. I call it the closing of the day. No bells, no chants. Just a small pause filled with awareness. You can sit quietly at the edge of your bed, or lie on your right side, the posture of deep rest. Inhale and exhale softly 3 times, and with each breath, silently say in your heart, "Today I have lived, now I let go." This sleep is a continuation of awareness. You don't need to do anything more. Just let the breath flow out like a stream gently into the surrounding night. No effort. No forcing yourself to be calm. Just be present like a close friend sitting beside you before the night begins. Because truly, sleep is not separate from practice. It is a transition where the mind grows still and continues walking in silence. If you can end your day with mindfulness, the night will no longer be a period of ending, but a soft door leading you back to yourself. Research on the circadian rhythm shows the human body and mind operate in a natural day-night cycle. When you live out of sync with it, you feel tired, depressed, disoriented. But when you honor and harmonize both light and dark, you realize you are no longer pulled by life's rhythm. You are flowing with it. Psychology calls this inner coherence, living in alignment between your actions, emotions, and thoughts, without inner conflict between the roles you play throughout the day. Buddhism teaches the same truth, though not in scientific terms. The wise live with a mind unmoved by gain or loss, day or night, waking or sleeping, joy or sorrow. Because they live in pure awareness undivided. In the Vinaya Pitaka, the Buddha once taught the monks, whether walking, standing, sitting, or lying down, if one is fully present, that person is practicing. A simple saying, but a profound measure of one's practice. Meditation is not about sitting long hours, not about reading many sutras or speaking wisely. It is about living each moment in awareness without abandoning yourself. When you are present while walking, eating, feeling joy or fatigue, then by night, your mind no longer struggles to find peace. It has already been nourished by mindfulness throughout the day. Night is not merely a time for the body to rest. It is an honest mirror reflecting how you have lived. If you live deeply through the day, your mind will continue seamlessly into peaceful sleep. If you live reactively driven by anger or desire, then night becomes the time when the mind faces the fresh karma it has created through restless dreams, uneasy body, and mental agitation. Thus, practice does not begin at night. It begins with the quality of how you live by day, and the night simply continues or reflects it. If you truly live fully in the day, then even a short night becomes a long meditation in silence. There are people who live ethically and mindfully by day, yet abandon themselves at night, falling asleep in worry, escaping into screens, drifting into heavy dreams, not knowing where they come from. I'm not saying you can control your dreams. I'm saying, if you are not present with yourself before sleep, the mind will find somewhere to wander, and that place may not be wholesome. So don't treat the night as a neglected space. If you know how night can become a deeper practice than the day itself, when you begin to live without dividing day and night, you begin to live wholly. You no longer see morning as awakening and night as forgetting. You no longer see work as duty and sleep as passivity. You see every second is the Dharma. Every moment is a gate to meditation. When you pass through the day in mindfulness and enter the night in awareness, lying down as one who is learning to rest without guilt, without striving, you begin to live in a very deep way, living without fragmentation, resting without regret, awakening without effort, and the mind always there like a still lake. Perhaps among all the things we do each day, sleep is the only act you cannot do. You can try to learn to work, to love, even to meditate, but you cannot try to sleep. The more you try, the more awake the mind becomes. The more you want, the tenser the body gets. The more you think, I must sleep, the further sleep drifts away, like a small light in the dark. The harder you chase, the faster it disappears. That is the simple paradox few are willing to accept. Sleep only comes when you stop doing anything. And in that moment, the mind learns one of meditation's greatest lessons. Cease interference. Humans carry a deep habit, the desire to control everything. We control work to feel valuable. We control emotions to maintain a good image. We control others to satisfy expectations. And strangely, we even try to control our own minds. Even on the spiritual path, many people fall into a subtle form of attachment without realizing it. Phrases like, "I must meditate correctly," "I must achieve stillness," "I must let go of everything," may sound wholesome, yet underneath lies a hidden tension. And wherever there is tension, there can be no relaxation. Where there is pressure, peace is absent. In Buddhist teaching, the root of suffering is craving attachment. But attachment is not only clinging to wealth, fame, or emotion. It also means clinging to ideas of oneself. I must achieve. I must attain. I must control my mind. This is the ego disguised in diligence, yet still driven by fear and lack of trust. Look closely. The sun rises whether you worry or not. Your heart beats whether you are mindful or not. Your breath flows even when you don't control it. And sleep is another expression of trust. It does not come when you try to sleep. It comes when you stop controlling, stop demanding, stop managing. Then, the body begins to breathe evenly. The mind begins to soften. Life begins to move according to its original nature, without anyone's interference. To stop interfering is to truly return, not as the controller, but as the witness, trusting, resting in the silence of being. In Buddhism, there is a profound concept called wu-wei, non-doing. Many misunderstand it as doing nothing, but it isn't. Non-doing does not mean giving up. It means acting in harmony with nature, not overstepping, not forcing, not striving. And sleep is a perfect example of this teaching. You cannot command the body to be calm. You cannot order the mind to shut off. You cannot make the night arrive sooner, no matter how you wish. All the effort to sleep properly, relax correctly, or meditate right only tightens the mind further. But when you simply set the conditions and stop interfering, that is when sleep truly arrives. Not as a task, but as a gift, natural, gentle, uninvited, yet certain. That is the essence of non-doing. You don't force a tree to bloom. You just water it. You don't demand a lake to be still. You simply stop stirring it. You don't try to rest. You simply stop. And in that stopping, the body begins to release. The mind begins to dissolve into breath. Life returns to its original rhythm, present, ungoverned. You don't need to control. You only need to be present and let reality unfold on its own. Those new to meditation often confuse observing with controlling. They watch the breath, yet silently command it to be calm. They sit in silence, yet constantly judge, am I still enough? And in that very moment, meditation, an art of returning to nature, becomes an anxious project of the ego managing itself. Many practitioners later complain of fatigue not because meditation is wrong, but because the mind hasn't learned to stop interfering. They don't sit wrongly. They don't breathe wrongly. They simply try too hard. The mind wants to command to reach stillness, yet the more it tries, the more it stirs its own lake. The Buddha taught, do not resist, do not seek, only know. The mind is like water. When unstirred, it becomes clear. That is the heart of meditation. You don't need to force the mind to be quiet, just stop stirring it. You don't need to chase the breath, let it find its own rhythm. You don't need to do meditation, just be in meditation. And when you understand that, you will also see why sleep is its perfect mirror. Sleep doesn't come through effort, it comes through trust and release. When you stop stirring the water, the night naturally shines. When you stop controlling sleep, gently returns soft, as breath quiet as inner stillness. Psychology calls this the calm, letting go response. When a person accepts doing nothing, the nervous system shifts from fight or flight to rest and digest. Only in this state can the body truly heal and rest. Biologically, sleep is when the body detoxifies, restores memory, and balances hormones. Spiritually, it is when the mind learns to surrender control. Each night is a wordless lesson. Not everything requires interference. Some things heal only when left alone. Before sleep, you can try a simple yet deeply healing practice. Just lie still, with your hands gently on your chest or belly. No special preparation. No perfect silence needed. Just presence. Close your eyes. Breathe naturally. No need to force deep or slow breaths. Whisper within, I don't need to do anything. I only need to be present. Everything is already okay. If thoughts arise, and they will, don't push them away. Simply smile as one watching clouds drift over a mountain. You don't make the clouds disappear. You just stop clinging to them. With each exhale, imagine releasing a layer of control, a layer of worry, a layer of I must, a layer of I have to be calm, a layer of I must fall asleep. Let them all fade away with each breath out. In just a few minutes, you'll notice the mind starts to descend. The breath softens, the body loosens, and then without effort, sleep comes on its own. No complex techniques, no perfect posture, no self-command to meditate right. This is meditation in sleep, a meditation without force, without fixing, without control. Just letting go and trusting. Buddhism teaches non-self. Anatta, not to make you lose yourself, but to see that everything in life unfolds through causes and conditions without a single self controlling it all. There is no solid I behind the wheel, only processes arising and fading like waves. Yet the human mind loves to hold on. The ego wants to stay in charge of time, emotion, outcomes, even the spiritual path. And the root of that control is fear, fear of impermanence. We fear not knowing what will happen. We fear losing if we stop holding. But the tighter we hold, the faster things slip. The more we force calm, the more restless we become. The more we crave peace, the more anxiety grows. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha said, "Let go of grasping and peace will follow." When the mind no longer seeks control, it becomes its own master. Do you see sleep as a living illustration of that truth? No one can make themselves sleep. No one can command the mind to dream now. Sleep never obeys willpower. It comes only when the mind releases, when the body stops trying. The art of sleeping is truly the art of egolessness in action. You don't need to be a monk to learn non-self. You only need tonight to step out of the role of the controller. Just lie down. Release the breath. Release the thoughts, and let causes and conditions move as they will. That is the most gentle yet profound practice you can do each night. When you understand ceasing interference, you'll see it's not just a lesson for meditation or sleep. It's an art of living. It applies to work relationships and the spiritual journey itself. In work, sometimes the best thing you can do is nothing. Don't micromanage every detail. Don't fix everything your way. Step back. Let others grow. Let events unfold in their natural order, and often that becomes the most skillful support. In relationships, sometimes silence is the highest form of love. Instead of arguing, explaining, or convincing, you choose quiet respect for the other's inner space. It's not indifference. It's a deep trust in their capacity to awaken. In spiritual practice, you don't always need to strive for enlightenment. Sometimes letting go of the idea of attaining is the very first step toward true awakening. Non-interference doesn't mean apathy. It means wisdom, knowing when to act and when to stop. It is the art of flowing with the Dharma, not fighting it. In the middle-length discourses, the Buddha taught, the Dharma shines by itself when the mind does not intrude. That is the essence of meditation, not decorating the mind, but allowing it to return to its natural state, clear, pure, and untouched by the ego's interference. Remember this simple but profound truth. You don't need to achieve peace. Peace has never been a reward at the end of the path. It is the natural state of the mind when it is no longer disturbed by striving or resistance. Like a lake, you don't need to make the water clear. You just stop stirring it. The body works the same way when you stop commanding it to relax, to rest, to be still. It naturally recovers. Because the body has its own wisdom, and so does sleep. You cannot train to sleep or practice to dream. You only need to release yourself into trust, and sleep will arrive quietly, knocking at the door the moment you stop locking it with control. When you understand this, you no longer seek ways to sleep better. You begin to practice something deeper, the art of unresting in awareness. Not waiting for sleep as a reward, but giving it a peaceful path to return on its own. Sleep is the mirror of your waking mind. If you spend the day controlling and striving, the night will release that tension in its own way. But if you learn the art of non-interference, sleep becomes not just rest, but meditation itself. Meditation doesn't only happen while sitting. It can happen as you surrender to the night in gentle breath, in wordless presence, in a mind that no longer needs to do anything more. And when you learn to stop interfering even in sleep, you will also know how to meditate when sleep won't come, because then you are no longer afraid of insomnia. You simply see the mind can still rest even when the body has yet to sleep. There are nights when no matter what you try, the body simply will not sleep. You lie still, count your breaths, let go of thoughts, yet your eyes stay open. Your heart remains awake, and your mind runs wild like an untamed horse. And when sleep doesn't come, most people react in one of two ways. They either toss and turn in frustration, blaming themselves, or they pick up their phone searching for something to distract them from their sleeplessness. But both reactions are a form of resistance. Resistance to the present moment. Resistance to wakefulness itself. Resistance to what is happening simply because it's not what we want. Insomnia is uncomfortable, but instead of turning away from it, I invite you to try something different. Walking meditation. Not to force sleep, but to move through the night with awareness and compassion. When the night falls, walking meditation can still be an open door, a way for the mind to return home. Meditation is not just for daylight or for birdsong and sunlight. It is also the quiet light that shines between the dark spaces of sleepless hours. Because at its deepest level, walking meditation is not a technique, it is an attitude. An attitude of acceptance and returning no matter the state you're in. So when you can't sleep, don't see it as failure. Don't curl up in irritation or self-blame. Don't try to escape it. Instead, rise gently. No need to turn on the lights. Just find a space quiet enough that you can walk without stumbling into yourself. Each step is a step back into your body, into your breath, into the present. Walk as if you are spreading compassion onto the floor, not for anyone else, but for yourself. For the restless mind, still tangled in its thoughts, no effort is required, no right way to meditate. Just walk slowly and be fully there. Place your foot on the ground as you would place your hand upon your own pain, softly without judgment. Walk not to escape, but to listen. Walk to remember you are still alive, still breathing, still capable of coming home to yourself. And perhaps after a few minutes, your body will feel lighter, your mind will soften, and sleep like a quiet friend will return on its own. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped trying. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha taught, when walking, know that you are walking. When standing, know that you are standing. Not for arrival, not for attainment, simply for being alive. You walk not to tire yourself, but to place yourself back in the present. In the middle of what feels like a long, useless night, you walk not to escape, but to be here, to see that, even without sleep, you can still rest in mindfulness. Resting does not always mean lying down. Resting happens when the mind stops struggling. Studies show that slow, quiet walking helps shift the nervous system from stress mode to recovery mode. When you walk with awareness and steady breathing, your brain releases chemicals that reduce cortisol, steady the heartbeat, and relax the muscles. That means, even if you're not asleep, you've already begun to heal. Even if your eyes are open, if your mind is no longer resisting, you are already resting. Psychology calls this state restorative wakefulness. It is deep rest even without sleep. So when you can't sleep, don't force yourself to lie still and struggle. See it as a chance to practice a gentle meditation, walking through the night. You don't need anything elaborate, just a quiet space, a hallway, a balcony, a familiar corner of your room. If you wish to turn on a very soft light, just enough to see without stimulating the mind with brightness. And if possible, walk barefoot. Let your feet truly touch the ground as a way of touching reality itself. Stand still for a few moments. Feel your feet grounding. Inhale not to do it right, but simply to allow yourself to pause. Exhale as if releasing the entire day. Then begin to walk, gently, one step at a time in rhythm with your breath. Inhale, lift your foot. Exhale, place it down. No rush, no pressure, no goal to reach. With each step, you may whisper inwardly, I don't need to sleep right now. I only need to be present. Each step is a step home. I'm not pushing the night away. I'm walking with it. There is no destination, no finish line, just walking. As if you are walking alongside your dearest friend yourself in this moment. 5 to 10 minutes is enough, or longer if your heart still needs to settle. Then return to bed. No more pressure to fall asleep. Only surrender presence and permission for sleep to return, like an old friend quietly knocking when you no longer need to control. Walking meditation is not only a remedy for insomnia, it is a way of living for those who understand that the mind does not always obey, but at any moment you can return with a single step. You don't need long sitting sessions. You don't need a perfect setting. You only need to be present in the first step you take. You can walk mindfully when anger arises and you don't want to speak it. Walk a few steps so you don't say something you'll regret. You can walk mindfully when the mind feels tight as a string. Walk a few steps to find your breath again. You can walk mindfully when you're confused by choices. Walk step by step to stop running into the future. You can walk when the world feels too loud, and all you need is one honest breath. Walking meditation is the practice of returning, not to escape emotion, but to walk with it without being swept away. Each step needs no destination, only the knowing I am walking. And sometimes that alone is enough to change the entire current of the mind. When Venerable Sariputta was about to enter nirvana, he did not choose to sit in a formal posture or recite a long discourse. He simply walked quietly beneath an old tree where earth and mind met in silence. His disciples, watching from afar, said, "His steps were as light as the wind, yet touched the earth deeply." It was not a walk toward somewhere. It was no longer the act of one practicing. Each step was a breath of life itself, effortless, unproven, simply living within the step. You too can walk like that. You don't need ancient forests or monasteries. Just a small, open space in the night, a familiar room is enough to return. Walk with an awakened mind. Breathe as if it were your first breath. And with every step unseen by anyone, know that you are returning gently, as the wind touching the deepest part of yourself. Insomnia, when seen clearly, is not frightening. The body may stay awake, but exhaustion comes not from open eyes. It comes from resisting. Wakefulness, from fearing the lack of control, from the mind asking again and again, "Why am I still awake? How can I fall asleep? What will happen tomorrow?" That struggle, not sleeplessness itself, is what drains you. But if you change your perspective, the night stops being an enemy. It can become a quiet companion whispering, "Your mind still needs you to stay with it." Then you no longer have to try to sleep. You just walk with your mind in silence, compassion, and without judgment. Let the sleepless hours become a gentle journey home, without goals, without expectations. Simply be with the breath. Watch the mind like watching a river, neither stopping it nor forcing it to flow. And in that ease, you'll see the night softens. The mind softens. And sometimes sleep will come like an uninvited guest, but perfectly natural. Walking meditation in sleepless nights is not a method for success. It is a way not to abandon yourself in the dark. While others sleep, you may walk. Walk quietly. Walk without aim. Walk as someone learning to love themselves again, one gentle step at a time. And when you walk like that, you'll realize even without sleep, you are resting. Even with open eyes, your mind no longer wanders. And sometimes that wakeful stillness in the night is deeper than any dream. Have you ever whispered something before, closing your eyes, not aloud, not demanding, just a quiet sentence from the deepest part of your heart, whether you call it a prayer, a wish, a message, or an act of surrender? If it comes from sincerity, it is already a form of letting go. In Eastern psychology, prayer is often misunderstood as something done out of lack, asking to receive, asking to be fulfilled. But in Zen and Buddhism, prayer doesn't belong to the realm of asking. It belongs to the realm of releasing. When you pray, it often begins because you believe something is missing, and that some greater force will come to give or arrange it for you. But when seen through the eye of Dharma, prayer is not a transaction. It is not, "I am good, so please give me peace." It is not, "I practice, so please grant me blessings." It is simply, "I see clearly what I am holding, and I no longer wish to control it." In that moment, prayer does not arise from deficiency, but from understanding. You no longer ask to change circumstances. You no longer plead for life or the Dharma to move according to your will. You are learning to let go of the steering wheel of the illusion that I am the one controlling my life. Prayer then becomes an act of awareness, no longer a plea, but a surrender. a handing over of your mind to the Dharma, your body to life, your entire journey to something larger than the self, something that is already here, quietly guiding everything in its own way. You only need to release your grip and trust that the boat will still move. During a meditation retreat, many students once came to their master and complained, "I've meditated, I've breathed, I've tried not to think, yet the mind is still restless." The master gently asked, "Before going to sleep, do you make a vow?" They were puzzled. "A vow? I'm just going to bed. What is there to vow?" The master smiled and replied, "A vow is not for gaining anything. It is for setting things down. Setting down what still clings. Setting down what remains unresolved. Even setting down the worry that you might not be able to sleep. You don't need to pray for sleep. Sleep is not a reward for effort. It is a gift for those who know how to stop. Before bed, simply whisper to yourself, 'If sleep comes, I welcome it. If not, I still rest. Whatever happens, I surrender.' This is not a religious ritual. It is a return the moment you stop trying. And right there, the mind softens, and sleep, if it comes, arrives on very gentle feet. The Buddha never taught prayer as a form of bargaining. Yet in Mahayana Buddhism there are countless great vows, like the 48 vows of Amitabha Buddha, or the Bodhisattva vows. May no being be left behind in suffering. May my heart be as vast as the ocean, as light as the wind, as radiant as the sun. Such vows are not meant to earn results, but to turn the mind towards something greater than itself. In the middle of a fearful night, in the space between wakefulness and sleep, prayer can simply mean placing your hand on your heart and saying, "I don't need to hold on anymore." Modern psychology notes that those who pray even without religion tend to have lower stress levels, not because they believe they'll receive something good, but because they have an inner anchor to release pressure. When you speak even silently, you relieve invisible weight. When you admit that you cannot control everything, you allow yourself to breathe again. And that is exactly what you need before sleep, not to solve everything, but to release control. Prayer is not superstition. It is a healing mechanism when offered with a mind that knows how to let go. If you'd like to try, spend a few minutes each night on a simple ritual. No bells, no chants, just you with yourself. Turn off the lights. Sit or lie down in the most relaxed posture. Place one hand over your heart, the other over your abdomen, a gesture of touching life itself. Breathe softly. No need to deepen or slow it. Just breathe as the body already knows how. Then whisper within as if speaking to your own soul. Today I've done what I could. What remains unfinished, I set down here. I rest, not because I'm perfect, but because I've tried enough. All that's left, I entrust. Then stop. Don't wait for sleep. Don't check if the mind is calm yet. Just breathe and rest. If the mind wanders again, gently remind yourself, "I've made my vow, now it's time to rest." You don't need to conquer the mind. You only need to be with it with faith and release. From that point, the deepest healing begins. The self always wants to control, to grasp, to hold everything in its hands. But a vow is the act of opening those hands, not to give up, but to acknowledge there are things beyond our control. And in the very moment you make a vow, you are practicing a deep form of meditation, the meditation of letting go. When you make a vow, you no longer place yourself at the center of the universe. You see your smallness, but not as insignificance. You bow before something greater, yet your heart expands. You do not cling, and you do not withdraw. You entrust with awareness. A true vow does not arise from fear or begging. It arises from humble wisdom, from understanding that I cannot control everything, but I can control my attitude. I can choose a willing heart in the face of the unknown. In that understanding, you walk close to the spirit of more selflessness and compassion. That the Buddha taught a path not centered on me, but flowing from trust, kindness, and timely surrender. Prayer before sleep does not have to be grand. No long speech, no ornate ritual. Just one true sentence repeated gently. Soon the mind learns to recognize it as the signal to rest. The body follows softening into peace. It's like singing a lullaby to yourself, not to be loved by someone else, but to remind yourself it's time to let go. Sleep is a realm you cannot control. True prayer is your ticket to enter it with no baggage. When you pray not to ask, but to offer, you stop carrying the weight of expectation. You bring only a heart of surrender. And when you learn to pray in this way each night, you begin to understand something profound. Each night's sleep is a small death, an opportunity to shed the old day, a practice of readiness for the day you must finally let go of this life. Each night, as you lie down, close your eyes and breathe slowly. Do you feel as though something begins to fade away? Not suddenly, not clearly, just a gentle kind of leaving. You stop holding on to everything you thought about all day. You stop arguing. You stop defending what you believe is right. You stop pushing away what you dislike. You begin to sink. No one applauds you. No one certifies that you've done well. There is only one quiet truth. You are leaving the self to temporarily become no one, and that if you are sensitive enough to notice is a small death. Not a frightening one, but a compassionate one, and deeply valuable if you learn the art of dying a little every day. We usually think of death only when someone passes away, when illness comes, or when age begins to whisper at the door. That's why death seems so distant, so sudden, so hard to accept. But perhaps you've never realized sleep itself is a gentle version of death. In the middle-length discourses, the Buddha compared 3 states. Waking is activity. Sleep is the temporary cessation of activity. Death is the long cessation of body and consciousness. That means each time you fall asleep, you enter a transitional space, a place with no name, no role, no effort. You are no longer someone in society, yet you still exist in a deeper way. Sleep, then, is not only rest, it is a form of practice, a sacred space for letting go, a chance to die a little without losing anything. If every night you approach sleep as a lesson in dying gently, you will see there is nothing to fear. Death is not a wall, but an open door. And if you live each day as preparation for leaving peacefully, you will live more truthfully, breathe more deeply, and love more completely. That is why in Buddhism, death is not an end, but a natural part of the return. And sleep, if you look closely, is the silent teacher reminding you of this every night. In Buddhism, all suffering begins with attachment to the self. When you think, I'm right, I need this, I must be recognized, I am in control, that is the voice of the ego. But pause and ask yourself, when you sleep, where is that I? In sleep, you no longer know who you are. You no longer protect any image, argue any point, or prove anything. No ideals, no plans, no roles remain. Your mind returns to its pure state, where the ego no longer operates. That is why sleep is one of the most profound experiences of letting go. You don't have to try to stop being you. You simply lie down, breathe, and sleep does the rest. If each day you can release just one layer of attachment as gently as sleep releases you into darkness, then you are already learning about death without fearing it. You are not losing yourself. You are simply learning not to be bound by the illusion of a self that must always be at the center. And in that space, the mind is truly free. Modern psychology studies sleep as the brain's reset process. While you sleep, the brain sorts memories, filters emotions, and removes what's unnecessary. You wake up renewed. The ancients already knew this without brainwave machines. They called sleep the rest of the body and the cleansing of the mind. The great death, when seen deeply, is simply a longer sleep. And if you are used to falling asleep with release without resentment or regret, then even death cannot disturb you, because you've already died a little each day and been reborn every morning in the light of awareness. Each night before the mind drifts into endless thoughts, you can practice 3 simple yet deeply transformative things. 1. Let go of the ego. Imagine that as you lie down, you are also laying down the roles you played today. Who was right or wrong, does it still matter? Let it pass. Tasks unfinished, let them rest. Desires unmet, fears unresolved, leave them by the bedside like your slippers. The ego, the source of all tension, is now allowed to rest. 2. Contemplate impermanence. Inhale, feel the heaviness in your shoulders, the weight in your legs. Exhale, see clearly that this body will one day no longer exist. Not to feel sad, but to cherish every breath still given. When you see the body's impermanence, you stop wasting breaths on anger or regret. Or 3. Whisper compassion. Right before closing your eyes, gently tell yourself, though I am not perfect today, though some things remain unfinished, tonight I allow myself to rest as one who has let go, learning to return home. No one needs you to be extraordinary in sleep. You only need to come home fully, peacefully, without resistance. then the night becomes your kindest companion. In the Minor Discourses, the Buddha advised the monks, live as though today were your last day. He did not say this to frighten. He said it to remind us not to waste even a single moment. Life is not an endless road where awakening can be postponed until convenient. It is every breath, every choice, every step, each could be the last. Death is not a sudden event waiting at the end. It is present in every moment we forget ourselves. If you never learn to let go daily, if you never practice dying a little each night, then the final death will feel too vast, too foreign, too frightening. But if every evening you gently lay the body down, release thoughts, release the self that worked so hard, and entrust everything to the Dharma, then at life's end, you won't need to learn how to die. You'll already know. Death, then, will not be an ending. Just another time you lie down lightly unburdened as when you fall asleep and stop needing control. Simply resting, simply returning. If you ask, what about all the things I haven't finished? The answer is, it's okay. Tomorrow still exists, but tonight, let the mind die a little. Death here does not mean loss, but shedding old layers. The layer that says, I must do better. The layer that says, I'm not enough. The layer that says I carry everything. Like a tree must shed its leaves to grow new buds, we too must die a little each night, or we will never truly wake anew in the morning. So let each night be a small ceremony, a farewell to old efforts, a release of the roles you wore through the day, a letting go of the self-image you held too tightly. Night is the time to give away everything no longer needed, no witnesses required, only you and your heart. And in the morning you will rise again, lighter, truer, carrying not the weight of yesterday but a heart that has rested and been renewed. That is how sleep becomes a spiritual practice, not merely rest, but a return. You see, you don't need to wait until old age illness or your final breath to learn about death. You can begin each night as you lie down. Death is not beyond your strength. It is a lesson you already know. And if you master the art of dying each day, you will no longer fear endings, because you will have realized every ending, when met with mindfulness, is simply another way of coming home. Have you ever sat and watched a perfectly still lake, no ripples, no birds crossing, nothing striking yet? Somehow your heart softens, calmly, deeply, without effort. Your mind in a state of mindfulness can be just like that. And strangely enough, sleep, when entered the right way, is the path that leads you back to that state. A place with no self, no inner dialogue, no struggle, no need to please anyone. Only stillness, not achieved but revealed when you stop holding on. People often mistake silence for the absence of sound. But you know there are spaces completely quiet, yet inside the mind is a marketplace of voices, arguments, and unfinished conversations. And conversely, there are places full of noise. Cars wind life, and yet if the mind rests in awareness, it remains still. true stillness does not depend on circumstances. It lies in your ability to turn inward. It is the returning that doesn't require shutting out the world, but simply no longer being swept away by it. Among all the ways to return to yourself, sleep is the most natural. No reasoning, no effort, no advanced technique. You only need to breathe and let go. Letting go does not mean indifference. Letting go means not resisting, not forcing thoughts away, not trying to fall asleep, but allowing the night to become a space that holds everything, a space where you can set down all that the day has carried. When the mind no longer resists, true stillness begins. And in that stillness, sleep ceases to be effort. It becomes return. A return without strain, without grasping, without control. Just being in this breathing body. What holds you captive through the day is I. I must succeed. I am hurt. I am misunderstood. I have worth only when others see it. These ideas, though seemingly reasonable, become invisible burdens. They don't live in your work or your circumstances. They live in the self clinging to its own image. So when night falls and you still bring that I to bed, rest becomes impossible, because the ego never sleeps. It likes to analyze, compare, justify, replay every word, every glance, every unfinished matter. And though the body lies down, the mind keeps wandering. Sleep, when entered properly, is not just a biological state, it is a deep practice. It is where the ego is gently set down, not suppressed, released, like a leaf falling. No argument, no proof, no witness needed. You only need to whisper inwardly, I don't need to hold any image anymore. I don't need to be right or better. I don't need to control anything in this sleep. I am simply a mind returning to peace. And when you let go of the ego, even for one night, you will know what real rest is. Not in how long you sleep, but in sleeping without carrying the weight of I. There is a line in the Samyutta Nikaya. I always remember, when the mind stops seeking the Dharma reveals itself. It sounds simple, yet it hides one of the deepest truths of meditation. You cannot find stillness by trying to achieve it. Meditation is not forcing the mind to stop thinking. It is sitting beside it like with a friend without asking them to change. Sleep, if you observe closely, carries the same essence. You cannot sleep by effort. You cannot fall asleep by commanding silence or demanding relaxation. You can only stop doing, stop striving, stop searching, stop fixing. And in that non-doing, the mind begins to return. The body softens, and sleep, like a quiet stream, flows naturally into the stillness that was always there. So while meditation and sleep are different experiences, they meet at the same deep point, where effort ends, where being right ends, where avoiding wrong ends, where only presence remains, and trust in the mind's natural wisdom. Even in sleep therapy, specialists emphasize this key truth. You cannot stop thinking by trying to think less, because the mind moves by momentum. The more you resist, the more you stir it. The more you push, the more it rises. The only way for the mind to settle is to shift attention, not toward thoughts, but toward the simplicity of the present moment. And the clearest present is the breath, the sensations of the body, the awareness that does not cling to content. Sleep then becomes the art of resting without control. It doesn't require you to silence all noise, only to stop being the one who chases sound. You can practice this every night as a quiet ritual of return. Lie on your right side, the posture of safety and compassion. Place your left hand gently on your belly, your right hand under your cheek, as if comforting yourself. Exhale longer than you inhale for the first 3 breaths. No forcing, just releasing slowly with the breath. Then let the breath flow naturally, like a stream that needs no guidance. You don't need to repeat any phrase in your head. You don't need to recall teachings or make an effort to meditate. Simply hold one image: a still lake, a full moon, thoughts drifting by like leaves not to be kept. If the mind continues speaking, don't fight it. Just smile gently and whisper, "We'll continue this in the morning." No battle, no suppression, just a promise, and return to body, breath, and still lake. You don't need to hurry to sleep. You only need to allow rest like a drop of dew falling to the earth. No sound, no force, only return, quietly but awake within. In Buddhist teaching, stillness is not the absence of sound, it is the natural state of the mind when it is no longer swept away by illusion. The Buddha called it the pure original mind, a state innately clear, undefiled, unmoving. The mind doesn't need fixing. It only seems disturbed when we mistake it for thoughts, emotions, or labels. When you enter sleep the right way, without strain, without effort, without ego, you are returning to that state. You are not sleeping to escape, nor earning rest as a reward for doing enough. No one needs to score your day. No one needs to grant you permission to rest. Simply this: you have lived through a day, and now you have the right to return to peace, unlabeled, unjudged, undescribed. Let that natural stillness embrace you like breath, gentle, even unforced. Then you are not merely sleeping, you are returning, not to a place but to your own mind, which has never left peace. You may be a parent, a leader, a child, a healer. You may carry many roles: working, caring, guiding, protecting. But before sleep, all those roles must be set aside like garments at the end of the day. Not because you are unimportant, but because you too deserve rest, ease, and return. No one asks you to be strong while you sleep. No one grades your worthiness to rest. And most of all, you don't have to either. You don't have to judge, prove, or carry anything more. Just remind your heart, it's enough. Now it's time to return. No one, no task, no role. Only me, like a lake without ripples. The moment you release your identities, you touch the deepest freedom. Your mind, like the moon before dawn, doesn't need to shine, only to be. And sleep at that moment becomes a sacred ritual, resting as one who has nothing left to hold. You've come far already from letting go of control. ceasing interference, dying a little each day, to touching the most primal state stillness. I know you cannot keep that stillness all day long. But if you fall asleep in that state each night slowly, that stillness will begin to flow into your every step, your every glance, your every reaction. There are nights when we lie down with a mind full of noise. Not the noise outside, but the aftershocks within someone's words that still echo. Something unfinished, irritation not yet dissolved, disappointment not yet released, and we wish if we could just close our eyes, everything would fall silent. But as you know, the more you try to sleep, the louder the mind becomes, because the mind is not a machine that can be turned off. The mind is like soil, and it must be gently watered before it can rest. In the Buddha's teaching, there is a profound and gentle way to water the mind before sleep. The practice of the four immeasurables, loving kindness, metta compassion, karuna joy, mudita, and equanimity upekkha. Throughout the day, you move through countless situations, work, family interactions, and subtle emotional ripples that no one sees yet. Your mind registers them all. You are not always able to respond with kindness. Sometimes you get angry, feel wronged, or shrink from a single look. These unprocessed feelings settle deep within like sediment. You may sleep, but the mind continues to hold them. So before you sleep, take a few minutes to return to yourself and cleanse the heart with the four immeasurables. Not through analysis, not to be a good person, but so that you don't carry unhealed scratches into your sleep. Each quality is like warm water softening what has hardened. You don't need to become a saint. Just let these states soak in like soil absorbing dew little by little each night, so that you may rest not only in body, but in heart, and awaken not only refreshed, but lighter, to live a new day from a mind no longer closed. Loving kindness. Metta. Loving kindness is the starting point of all unconditional love. It is not affection for those who are pleasant or agreeable to us, but a simple wish for others to be well, because they too are human like us. They know pain, sadness, fatigue. They too have been hurt and long to be understood. Loving kindness is the wish that all beings be safe, peaceful, and free from suffering. Compassion. Karuna. Compassion is the refusal to turn away from suffering. When you see someone in difficulty, you do not pass by indifferently. You feel a quiet, "oh," inside. You may not be able to help immediately, but you stay present with understanding. Compassion is not pity. It is tenderness, born from clear seeing. Joy mudita. Joy is the ability to be glad when others are happy. Their success does not make you smaller. Their joy does not spark comparison. It is a happiness for another's happiness, a joy that is not mine, but purer, lighter. Equanimity. Upekkha. Equanimity is not indifference. It is the heart that sees all things come and go, and therefore does not cling. When you gain, you are not overly elated. When you lose, you do not collapse. Equanimity is calm between gain and loss, praise and blame, closeness and distance. When you practice the four immeasurables before sleep, it is not to become a good person, but to soften the mind that has grown coarse throughout the day. These four qualities, like invisible arms, gently hold your mind as it drifts into sleep. No striving, no expectation, just resting in a heart that is wide, soft, and deep. You may lie on your right side or sit if that feels more comfortable. No rituals, no bells, only one requirement: sincerity. Step 1. Breathe deeply 3 times. With each exhale, imagine a stream washing away what remains: pressure, worry, fatigue. Exhale softly. Inhale fully present. Step 2. Water the mind with loving kindness. Silently repeat: may all beings, including myself, be safe, loved, and rest in peace tonight. May those I love, and even those I have found difficult to love, have a gentle, restful sleep. Step 3. Water the mind with compassion. May those in pain find relief. May those struggling in confusion find someone who listens and understands. And if I too am hurting, may I be gentle with myself. Step 4. Water the mind with joy. May those who received good news today keep that smile in their hearts. I am not jealous. I am happy for them, because I wish to learn the art of joy without needing to be above anyone. Step 5. Water the mind with equanimity. If someone hurt me today, I release them from my heart, not because they deserve it, but because I deserve to sleep in peace. I do not need to win against anyone tonight. I only need to rest. Finally, lie still for a few moments. Don't try to stop thoughts. Let the 4 immeasurables: loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity wrap around you like a soft blanket. Not to prove you are good, but to remind yourself, I deserve to be light, to be deep, to be at ease. The Buddha did not only teach us to meditate in silence, he taught us to water the heart daily like a gardener tending his plants, not through willpower or force, but through understanding and genuine care. The 4 immeasurables are called immeasurable because they are boundless, unlimited by person, time, or circumstance. You don't need to be a monk or live in the forest or enter a temple to practice them. They are for anyone: a mother, an office worker, someone who has been hurt, or simply anyone who wants to sleep peacefully with a heart free of poison. When you embrace yourself with loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity, you are not trying to be good. You are simply opening to be gentle with yourself and with life. If you let these 4 qualities touch your heart before closing your eyes, they will be like a cool breeze soothing the storm within, bringing you back to your original state. A mind that doesn't need to be right, only still. Neuroscience shows that the emotional state before sleep directly affects the quality of sleep and dreams. When you sleep with anxiety or anger, the body keeps cortisol high, the heartbeat elevated, and dreams become restless. But when you enter sleep with loving kindness and equanimity, the nervous system shifts into deep restoration. Thus, practicing the 4 immeasurables is not abstract. It is a psychological therapy for the heart. It softens the rough edges within you, and you wake with a cleaner mind. Imagine your mind as long hair tangled after a day of friction. Unfinished conversations, unspoken words, small worries, they are knots tangled together. Loving kindness is the first hand that touches not to fix, but to soothe. A gentle stroke that tells the heart you are still loved. Compassion is the patient hand untangling each knot, without blame, without haste, knowing each knot came from a moment of not being understood. Joy is the quiet sigh, when the hair begins to soften, the relief that things can be made right again through gentleness, not control. And equanimity is when you finally set the comb down and smile. Not because the hair is perfect, but because you are light enough to stop fixing. Practicing the 4 immeasurables is just like that. Not a lofty ritual, but the art of combing the heart. No pain, no rush, just soft, slow movements until the tangles begin to dissolve. And when you lie down, you are not merely sleeping. You are resting in a mind that has been untangled and loved. Sleep is not only about the body, it is about the heart after a day of collisions. The four immeasurables are not moral lessons. They are a gentle sedative for the soul. They don't make you dull, they make you peaceful. And when this becomes your nightly habit, you will not only sleep well, you will slowly become a softer, lighter person with yourself and with the world. And yet sometimes, even after practicing compassion, the mind is still not quiet. Not because you have failed, but because the noise within has simply never been heard. We are often taught that sleep is the time to be quiet. No thoughts, no worries, no sadness, no memories. But reality is different. Many nights, even after turning off the lights, setting work aside, meditating and breathing slowly, your mind still refuses to rest. A single thought can spread like ink in water. One sentence from someone during the day can echo endlessly like a voice in the mountains. And then you wonder, why am I still not at peace? But I want to tell you this from experience and from the Buddha's own teaching. Peace is not the absence of noise. It is the ability to listen to noise without resistance. Imagine you're meditating in a quiet room. Everything seems calm. Suddenly a dog barks outside. In that moment, you have two choices. One, to be irritated, to wish the noise would stop, to think, "Please be quiet, I'm meditating." Two, to simply note, "Ah, a dog is barking." No reaction, no liking or disliking, no need to push it away, just acknowledging it as part of the present moment. Your mind works the same way. While meditating, it may stir up all kinds of things, random thoughts, old memories, strange emotions, worry. And again, you have two choices. One, to struggle asking, "Why can't I be calm? Why can't I stop thinking?" Or two, to see those thoughts like wind passing through an open window. The wind isn't you, but it's here. You can't forbid the wind to blow, but you can stop resisting it. And when you stop pushing, the wind moves on by itself. That is the art of meditation. Not to silence the mind, but to learn how to sit still, even when the mind is full of wind. Sleep is the same. It's not about forcing the body to rest, but about not fighting the sounds within, and realizing that once you stop struggling, everything finds its own way back to calm. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the foundations of mindfulness, the Buddha never said to force the mind to be quiet. He simply taught, when greed arises, know that greed is arising. When restlessness arises, know that restlessness is arising. Not to remove these states, but to see them clearly and stop being pulled along. When you lie down at night, the mind may still echo. The sound of unfinished tasks, the whisper of regret, the shadow of what you wish had gone differently. At that moment, instead of forcing everything to be quiet, try shifting your view from elimination to acknowledgement, from resistance to presence. Ah, this is worry. Ah, this is the image of unfinished work. Ah, this is the feeling of dissatisfaction with myself. No condemnation, no analysis, no fixing. just seeing like watching clouds drift across the sky, and remembering the clouds are not the sky. Thoughts are not you. The mind may stir, but you can still rest, because in the very moment you recognize without identifying, you are practicing meditation within daily life. And sleep, when it comes, becomes the natural result of a mind that knows how to return home. Modern psychology explains this too. Restlessness and overthinking before bed are not signs of a weak mind. They are messages that were never fully heard during the day. You were too busy. You avoided a certain feeling. You stayed silent about something you wanted to say. You pushed yourself to do well without realizing you were exhausted. And at night, when no one else is around, those things return. Not to harm you, but to say, I'm still here, unseen. If you can sit or lie down like someone listening to a dear friend, that noise will soften, not because it's silenced, but because it's been allowed to exist fully. This is a gentle practice, one you can do right in bed, especially on sleepless nights. No need to get up, no need to do anything special. Just lie still with openness. Begin as you usually do, lying down. Don't try to fall asleep. Don't force the body to relax. Don't demand the mind to be still. Just breathe softly, evenly, without control. And if thoughts arise about work relationships or unfinished matters, don't push them away. Simply whisper inwardly, I hear you. You can stay. I don't need to do anything. If an emotion suddenly surfaces, sadness, worry, regret, anger, breathe with it and say softly, I'm not pushing you away. You can stay, and when you're ready, you'll fade on your own. This is not a technique to control the mind. It is a way of living, a way of allowing mental states to exist without needing them to make sense. No need to understand. No need to fix. Just be present with patience and kindness, and within that space, sleep, if it comes naturally. And even if it doesn't, you are still resting deeply inside. The Buddha once remained silent when insulted. He did not respond, not out of fear, but because he knew not everything that arises needs an answer. Your mind works the same way. At night, countless thoughts arise, a memory, a worry, an unfinished image. You might get pulled into them if you believe every thought demands analysis or explanation. But if you shift your view and choose not to react, you'll notice many thoughts fade simply because you stop feeding them energy. Silence in Buddhism is not avoidance. It is the state of neither adding nor subtracting, not denying and not clinging. And sleep is the perfect space to practice this. No need to suppress the mind. No need to understand everything. Just be present enough to see, the mind is speaking. But I don't need to talk back right now. In that moment, the mind begins to settle. Not because you force it, but because you've chosen to stay without resistance. When you realize this, you become free. You are not what happens inside your head. You are the one who knows it's happening. Like the screen is not the image, it is merely the space where images appear and disappear. When trained, your mind becomes like a vast lake undisturbed by ripples. Someone once said, "I only feel peaceful when my mind is empty." The Zen master smiled. No, peace is not emptiness. Peace is being fully present with all that arises without being swept away. That is a profound level of practice. When you can lie down with a mind that is still thinking and not resist, not force, not judge whether it's right or wrong, then you are no longer led by your mind. You don't need to stop thoughts to rest. You only need to see the mind is active and it's okay. Like watching a river flow without jumping in. You just stand on the bank, breathe and smile, "I see you, and I don't need to fix you." That is where true peace begins, not where the mind is empty, but where you no longer fight what's already here. You don't need to wait for calm to rest. You don't need to be good at sleeping. You only need to learn how to stay even when you are noisy inside, to let go of the urge to fix, and to remember noise when heard will eventually dissolve. Your whole journey so far has never been about becoming someone with nothing in the mind. It's about becoming someone brave enough to listen with mindfulness, compassion, and without control. We have walked together through lessons on breath ego, walking, meditation, prayer, and letting go. And if you've made it here to this moment, it means your mind is quiet enough to hear something essential. You don't need to be perfect to rest. You only need to be present with the mind you have and breathe. That is practice. That is sleep. That is coming home. It can change not only how you sleep, but how you live, how you let go, and how you return to yourself. From mindful breathing to silent bells, from the small death of each night to the quiet gratitude of morning, from the surrender of a falling leaf to the resting posture of a lion, every lesson points to one place beyond words, where you no longer need to earn peace. You only need to be and breathe. And when you bring mindfulness, compassion, and letting go into sleep, you don't just sleep deeper. You awaken lighter, clearer, and more real. Everything shared here is not theory. It is direct practice tonight where you can rest like a student of the way. Not perfect, not needing to understand everything, just honest with what is here. If something you heard touched you a moment that made you pause, breathe slowly and feel lighter, clearer, share it in the comments below. Perhaps your words will be a small lamp for someone else still awake tonight. And if you wish to walk further through teachings where ancient wisdom meets modern life, where stories as soft as mist carry the strength of awakening, subscribe to Buddhism Seeds. Turn on the bell and let us journey together through nights and days, clear and peaceful. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for not rushing. Now, let everything we've walked through together settle like a still lake. No need to hold. No need to remember. Just breathe and let the mind rest. May you have a peaceful night, a deep sleep not only for the body, but for the heart as well.